Mark Meechan, a 30-year-old Scottish YouTuber, was arrested 2 years ago and has now been convicted for offensive language. In his YouTube channel, Count Dankula, he parodied Nazism with his pet dog, a pug named Buddha. Now, it was his repetition of the term "gas the Jews" that was deemed unacceptable language. The fact it was a joke cushioned and bookended with an overt statement of comedic intent was completely ignored. That is, he was making his cute dog into the worst thing he could think of, a Nazi. This was ruled irrelevant during the sentencing. The content and intent were decided by the court, and they decided that it was an incitement to violence against the Jewish population of Scotland. You know, this leads me to philosophical questions regarding law, comedy, and just how this could possibly happen. You know, a sentence is still to be reached, but there's a possible 6-month jail term in play, and that looks likely. Now, do you think he should have been arrested and convicted? Do you think Scotland has free speech? And is Mark Meechan really a criminal or a victim of a miscarriage of justice? I think everyone knows the answer to these questions except from the weird Twilight Zone environment that must have been possessing that courtroom. But you see, I don't think this has went far enough. No, I think I'm actually agreeing with the criminal justice system here, and I think we should be intellectually consistent. See, the verdict is still very much out on Buddha. How did that happen? How did Buddha the pug slip through the cracks of the Scottish criminal justice system? Now, you could argue that Buddha was a passive participant and didn't really know what was going on. But as Scotland is now internationally famous for, not talking about whiskey, not talking about haggis, not talking about kilts, I'm talking about the fact that intent and context no longer matter. Take that into account. And what excuse does that pug have? Let's take this to dog court. Come on. Okay, the first witness we have here is Ruger. Now Ruger, first thing I want to mention is the name. The name Ruger. It's not looking good for you, pal. Tell me, what do you know about Buddha? What do you know? No, don't, hey, into the camera please, into the camera. What do you know? Ruger, I'm going to make this simple for you. If Buddha's guilty, go for this one. If he's innocent, this hand here. Ruger, pick a hand. Which one? Which one? Which one? Guilty or not guilty? Guilty? Guilty or not guilty? Guilty! That's enough out of you. Thank you very much, Ruger. Thank you for your time. You may go. You may go. Speak! 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 I'm gonna... Oh, good boy, that's you. That's the confession I wanted. So he is guilty, yeah. Totally unbiased opinion there. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you. So there you go, another first in the criminal justice system here in Scotland. Now you might think to yourself, well, that happened outside of the context of a court. You know, it wasn't in the context of a legal system. There was no due process there. But does that really matter in 2018? You know, to get serious for a minute, just the same things everyone else is saying. The joke with the Nazi pug thing, aye, you know what? You could say, oh, that is offensive, and you know what? It's never it's never a tasteful joke to make light of atrocities of the past. You know, however, sometimes that weighty subject matter, you know, those sensitive issues, that absurdist comedy, by leaning into those, you know, those social taboos, that's a legitimate form of comedy. Perhaps not one that's to your liking, but it is a legitimate form of comedy. You know, there's people who study comedy. One of my professors that taught me, he's at one of the universities in Glasgow. He's doing his, like a PhD study or whatever in comedy. You know, it's a broad subject and there's a lot to it. And just because you don't get the joke doesn't mean you get to put someone in jail. And there wasn't a single complaint. There wasn't a single complaint. And I mean, I'm someone who, you know, obviously this is my channels tends to be quite theologically orientated. You know, I've worshipped with the Jews in the local Reform synagogue. You know, the similarities, the comparisons and parallels between their traditions and the Christian traditions. You know, there's a lot there. There's a lot to be bridged. I would love for those communities to come closer together. You know, there's just those structures and dogmas within churches, you know, where everyone thinks they're better than the other. But see, once you get in there, you know, lovely people, everybody's a lovely, lovely person. But apparently, you know, when you tell a joke online, you're a Nazi sympathiser that wants to destroy a people group just because you made you know, a dark joke. You know, and you could look at it and you could say, well, they were spoofing or parodying Nazism. You could say it was surreal comedy, you know, this idea of a dog being a Nazi. Isn't that absurd? And then you have, you know, what could you say, black comedy. You could say black comedy. There's all these different styles of comedy. There's a way to critically analyse the comedic value of that. But just to throw it out and say, no, never mind that. Never mind that. He wants to kill a people group. He's incentivising violence. He's legitimising violence. Nobody thinks that. Nobody believes that. There isn't a single member of the public that believes that. It's just a weird ideological quirk of the current social milieu that's permeated the legal system right now, and we have to, as a people, stand up and say, actually, none of us think this is a crime. No one seems to be bothered by this. Why are you prosecuting someone and infringing upon the liberal democratic values of our country? Yeah, something like that. And you know, my resistance to this verdict is so strong that I will never vote SNP. I will never vote SNP again. And, you know, I had family ties to the party. You know, my father was a SNP councillor. I helped canvass to get an MSP elected. Never again. No, I will not renew my membership. It timed out a little whiles back. I'm not going to renew it. I'm never going to vote SNP again. I'm done with them. This is terrible. And if no one speaks out from the SNP government, no, we're done. That's it. Okay, all the best. In fact, I'll actively canvass against the SNP at the next elections because of this. This is atrocious to me. It is a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion.